Hello and welcome to the Midtable and Up podcast. On this episode of the podcast, we will be discussing our top 10 almost greatest footballers of all time. Please do comment down below. Let us know who you think are the greatest footballers of all time, other than a select few, and if you think that we've got our lists right. Now, my first co-host joining us today, his almost greatest achievement is picking a good list for these podcasts. It's Matthew Lee. You all right, Matt?
Thank you, mate. I'm glad that you speak so highly of my judgment. It's really kind of you.
Well, you know what I mean. We don't always agree. But
I think that's an understatement. I think that's an understatement. Yeah. We don't always agree.
No, we don't always agree. But I can't knock you at the end of the day. You stick by it, and that's what it is all about. My second co-host, almost greatest achievement, was the fact that he nearly signed for Arsenal, forcing out David Seaman at only the age of 7. It's our resident tractor boy, Simon Bartlett. You're right, Simon?
Yeah, maybe overplayed that one a little bit there, mate, to be honest.
Well, I overplayed Matt's one by saying he had good lists as well. So
we're being nice.
I reckon David Seaman was quaking in his boots. I'll put it that way.
7-year-old Simon showed up for that trial at Highbury and he was like, oh, fuck, I'm on days of numbered.
Have you seen this kid? There's no way he's not making it right to the top.
Okay, and finally, your final host is myself, George Ellis, a man whose almost greatest achievement was getting a reply from Emma Watson, but alas, it was her PR team that replied to my letter instead. What can I say, lads?
So close.
Honestly, I was gutted. I've still got that letter, funnily enough. But yeah, it basically said, Emma Watson cannot reply. She's making Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. But thank you for writing. And that was really it. Please find enclosed the photo.
I'm surprised they didn't just get an intern to just write a letter from Emma Watson.
Yeah.
Signed paper. That couldn't have been that
George,
hard.
come on, be honest. Are all the pages stuck together?
What, from her PR team?
Yeah, from her PR team.
I mean, at the time,
PR team. I was only like 10.
I mean, it'd been near someone that had been near her. Probably not actually.
No, I don't think Emma Watson got anywhere near that letter.
No, probably not. Let's be real. Someone might have just said, "Oh, you got a lot of fan mail this month. Oh, cheers, Dave. Yeah, keep responding." That was probably it. But yeah. So how did we find the list this week? How did we get on?
I was trying to do, I don't know. Once you take out the 5, I mean, there's so many players.
Yeah, so let's clarify. So what we're doing with this one is we're coming up with the top 10 greatest players of all time, with the exception of Lionel Messi, Cristiano Ronaldo, Pele, Diego Maradona, and Johan Cruyff. So your top 10 without those 5, because before we even started recording the podcast, when we talked about in the pub, we thought about doing this episode, but we all said basically a top 10 GOAT episode would be out of the question, because we all kind of agreed that our top 5 would basically be Cruyff, Maradona, Pele, Ronaldo, and Messi, which... Yeah, so this one, I really quite like the idea of this one, because I think it gives, honestly, like, there's probably a solid, like, 40, 50 players that you guys could have that wouldn't be on my list that I would go fair play.
I think there's the thing that those 5 are so stratospherically ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
And then like, there's a pool, as you say, of about probably 50, 60 players who could easily put in the top 10 afterwards.
Yeah.
So... yeah, trying to make it interesting, pick a few names that maybe people don't expect from us. But yeah, no, it was interesting.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like I've got a bit of a nice mixture of, I want to say, somewhat modern day players, and as well as some real old school players in there as well. So, all right, then.
I'm going to front it. My list, I think the earliest a player probably has played is probably like the early 2000s. So it will be a lot more contemporary than probably your ones. I've tried to stay away from really, really old players. Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I think hopefully we won't all have the same 10 people.
No, I don't think we will.
Because if not, it's just a circle jerk.
Yeah. Exactly. We always try to avoid that. But yeah,
unless it's a Saturday.
I mean, obviously. But I would have thought, to be fair, there are a few, like, because I know you're a bit more like into modern day football and that, and to be fair, that was why I was a little bit like, as you said, I don't think we're going to be having loads of players on this list. Similarly, this list could quite potentially be our most different, apart from games we've seen live and stuff, because that's just a bit more personal. But yeah, there's a large. You could really. I was thinking about it earlier, and I was thinking that you could probably make a case for anyone that in their peak was world class. You could probably make a case when you take away, obviously, those 5 giants that we talked about earlier. So,
and it's also about like the period of which they were world class. There was kind of, because we can judge it over such a long time frame, you've got so many options where some players were maybe in their peak when others weren't. And so no, absolutely, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, it's almost a bit of a generational thing, isn't it? Like some people would have, back in the day, some people might have grew up watching Pele and gone, oh, it's Pele. And then 10 years later, people that grew up watching Cruyff would go, oh, it's Cruyff. And then 10 years after that, people that grew up watching Maradona would go, oh, it's Maradona. And then obviously we've grown up with Messi and Ronaldo. So for us, it's Messi and Ronaldo. So yeah, it's a bit of an interesting one. So would you like to kick us off with your number 10 then, Matt?
Absolutely. My number 10 deservedly could be much higher. He's a player. I'll put it.
He is a player. That's good. That's always a good start.
He's a player. He was one of the first players that I was really, really impressed with. He was part of an amazing. He's pretty much won almost everything there is to win. He was part of an amazing Barcelona side. That doesn't really give it away too much. It's Xavi.
I'm going to say Xavi's my number 9.
Number 9.
So before we go any further, I'm just going to dip in with my number 10, Iniesta. Iniesta.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm really glad that you said Xavi, because I feel like we've got both parts of the yin and yang there almost, So go on. Why is Xavi your number 10, mate?
Well, he was so influential in that central midfield position, and I think probably for me, what makes him so deserving of a spot on the list, and we can talk about Iniesta as well. He won. A fantastic.
They won pretty much the same thing, really, didn't they?
Yeah, they pretty much won the same things.
I thought if not exactly the same. They did 1 or 2 trophies.
Yeah, he won so much. For me, I think he was such a fantastic talent. Spent so much time at Barcelona, and he was one of my favorite players watching when I lived in Spain. So that was kind of it for me.
Yeah, Xavi's one of those players. He's the type of player I really like, that midfield orchestrator, the guy who just basically quarterbacks the whole thing. He's always on the ball. Maybe doesn't look particularly flash, but you take him out and suddenly it all looks a bit more disjointed.
Well, I mean, the whole team sort of built around him. I would kind of say, because obviously I have got Iniesta, and again, for me, it's almost a coin toss between the two, to be honest with you. And I wanted to have at least one of the Spain players from our because I know people big up 1970s Brazil team, and rightly so, because it was a phenomenal fucking team. But when you think Euro 2008, World Cup 2010, Euro 2012, to win 3 major tournaments on the bounce, and there was a core of players at the heart of all three of those tournaments. And one thing I will, I'm going to big up Xavi here, even though I opted for Iniesta, but what Xavi did enabled Iniesta to be more of a magician because of the way he dictated the play.
And I think that's why a lot of people love Iniesta, is because he had that star quality, that bit of X factor. But as you say, without Xavi behind him, does he have that same influence? Can he play that same way? And that's why I've always liked Xavi. He's kind of that unsung hero who does that hard graft and makes everyone around him look better just by his presence. And I think that's why I've really liked Xavi. Yeah. I don't know. It's one of those.
No, he was phenomenal. And as I said, I feel like you kind of need, like, they're both just. I think to be fair, and I don't know if you guys would agree with me, but I would almost say possibly the best centre midfield partnership of all time.
Well, I mean, if you throw in the trio and put in Busquets as well, that is definitely the best midfield 3 you've ever got.
Yeah,
I'd love to see the past success rate of that 3. It must be in the high 90s over the course of their career. Like, they've never wasted possession at all. Like, it was incredible.
I think the thing that really always kind of swayed it for me on Iniesta, and as I said, a guy for the big occasion. So he's the only man in the history of the world to have ever got man of the match in a Euros final, a World Cup final, and a Champions League final. That's outrageous, really. Well, to even get man of the match in one of those is pretty fucking phenomenal. Yeah. But
he scored the winner in that 2010
and then 2010 World Cup, he scored the winner. You could rely on him for a goal. I'm pretty sure he scored in the he definitely scored in the Champions League final. He might have even scored in the Euros final as well. One of the two. I'm not too. I'd have to go back on that because they thumped Italy in that 2012 final. They absolutely thumped them. They put about 4 past them.
It was 4-0, I think.
Yeah.
Wasn't it?
And for a midfielder, his numbers are good. Like, obviously, excellent player, but you know, it's not like he was just playing that sort of lovely football. He committed.
But even like outside of the numbers, because you know we do.
Well, I think because if you look at Xavi's numbers won't look that impressive.
I was meant more outside the numbers for Xavi, but even the two of them, you might not look at the numbers and say that they're the best numbers ever because they're not, but just I think, as I said, in terms of a central pairing and then obviously a trio when you put Busquets in there, I can't think of 2 players that have ever had such an influence on a midfield.
It's so perfectly balanced, isn't it? You've got the sitter, the playmaker, and then like the box-to-box midfield player. Yeah. It's the perfect balance of a midfield in terms of a 3. Even with just 2 of them, Xavi will sit a bit deeper, Iniesta can break forward. And as you say, fantastic pairing. I'm pleased they both made the list in some regard because they both are, of the modern era, the best midfield players.
And it's almost criminal to have one without the other in a certain sense, I would say.
Yeah. They were a partnership, and probably, as you say, the greatest midfield partnership that there has ever been.
So he was your number 9.
Xavi was my number 9,
And Iniesta was your number 10, George.
Yeah, so you're number 10.
So not so different to start with.
No, not so different. Not so different. You're number 10, mate.
My number 10 was a Barcelona player from a different era, Ronaldinho.
Right.
Okay. So I've got Ronaldinho as well, but he's slightly higher on mine. I've gone at number 6 for Ronaldinho, and
same.
I think I probably know why he's so. Oh, you've gone for him at number 6 as well, Matt.
Yeah.
Oh,
but let's talk about him now,
mate. Okay. So we'll cover him now. I imagine. I feel like I know what your reasons are going to be for him being number 10, Simon, and I somewhat agree.
I don't know. It was one of those. I mean, he's the ultimate flair player. I mean, in terms of skill, he's probably the most skillful player I think I've probably ever seen.
Probably. I would say if you were going on talent alone
and just flair,
he'd probably be number 1 on this list. Yeah. I think for me anyway.
I mean, the one that always epitomised me is that goal against Chelsea in the Champions League.
It's great.
Where he does like a little step, and then just flicks it in the bottom corner. And I've watched that goal live. I'm like, what did he do there? Like, they just show it like his feet in slow motion. Like, geez, that's genius.
One of those goals. It's one of those goals where if you were the opposition, you'd have to stop yourself from applauding because honestly.
I mean, I think the reason potentially why he's not higher is he burned very bright, but maybe not for very long.
Yeah, there was probably a 2-year period, and for me again that was kind of what stopped me from putting him higher. And I'm not going to lie, I've got a couple of defenders on my list which I've kind of shafted I say shafted. I do think they're brilliant, but from a longevity perspective, it's where Ronaldinho falls down because there was between 2004 to 6. He was incredible. Nobody could touch him in those 2 years. Like even as someone as good as like Kaká was in that same period, brilliant player. But Ronaldinho, no one could touch him in those 2 years. And then it just, I feel like I don't know whether it was the money or whether he just lost interest. And then it kind of just, he went and played for Milan after Barcelona, didn't he, for a little while? But he never quite hit those heights again that he had between 04 and 06. No.
I mean, I don't know if there was an injury in there as well, and he just. I don't know. And he was getting older. I think he lost a bit of pace, which again, a player like that, that was a big part of his game early on. But can we talk about the fact that...
I think he was still in his 20s though, because I think, I'll have to, I think he was born in 1980. So he would have still been, like in 2007, 8, 9, you really should have, 27, 28, 29, if I am right on the year of his birth, those 3 years, he should have been even better than he was in between 04 and 06.
Can we talk about his recent stint in prison, though?
We can. What country is that in? He's not in the prison in Brazil, though, is he? Is it I think Paraguay or somewhere?
Paraguay, I think it is, yeah. and he had to play a football match, and the reward for winning the football match was a suckling pig.
Fucking hell! That's
so
crazy.
that's where his career is
as well.
these
Like,
days.
yeah, I feel so like his career, not just even in terms of the prison thing. I think financially as well was in a really bad way, because I think I heard that he was charging people something like 15,000 for like Instagram selfies or something like that. But I mean, if you've got 15,000 to blow on a selfie with Ronaldinho, by all means. But that kind of shows you the sort of financial situation the geezer must be in.
I know what I'll get you for your next birthday.
Oh, mate, yeah. You know what? Yeah, viewers, if anyone's got a spare 15 grand laying around, that would be a top. Because my 25th birthday was a bit understated because of COVID. Yeah. Everyone's fucking birthday is at the minute. So you know what? Anyone wants to share 15,000 with me?
Joint one for you and Matt. That'll be your birthday.
Oh, lovely. Lovely. There we go.
Yeah, it was allegedly for using a fake passport.
Yeah.
And do you think to a certain degree, and I'm not sure, but obviously he was, obviously he was there when Messi's kind of, and I don't want to talk about Messi because we agreed not to, but he was there when Messi started to come through. Do you think there was an element of it felt like he didn't shine as bright because there was this other
passing of the torch kind of thing?
Yeah, a little bit. Well, obviously that wouldn't have led him into prison.
To a certain degree, but you have to remember that Guardiola was the one that pushed Ronaldinho through the door, because he is as un-Pep Guardiola a player as there has ever been, despite his talent. And obviously Messi would have been coming through. And by 2008, obviously, Messi was really picking up steam. We can talk about him. We just don't have to have him on the list. But
I think Messi's what Ronaldinho was if Ronaldinho was a better team player. Ronaldinho was a very individualistically brilliant player, which Messi is too, but he also has that team element. So it's like Ronaldinho plus a bit more. And then, why do we want Ronaldinho now? Like, we've got this guy who's as good, and then adds a bit more to the team perspective.
You could also say a little bit more reliable and not as egotistical as well.
I mean, I don't know what Ronaldinho's numbers were like, but he's one of those that I think probably could have got more goals and more assists.
I would have said that his numbers were probably never the greatest, but then the magic. He did so. Yeah, and the thing is as well, he did so much. That didn't maybe contribute to a goal or assist. If he just beat a player and put a ball through, exactly. It was.
He was so great to watch.
He's one of the few players that stats really couldn't get nowhere near best to summing up. Even even say Messi, Ronaldo, you can maybe say the stats tell half the story because their stats are so good. But
he sort of looked like he was playing like FIFA Street.
Like
the skills
they basically made that game for him. They basically made that game because Ronaldinho existed.
Yeah. No, I was going to say, so for La Liga, 145 appearances, 70 goals, 50 assists.
Not bad.
That's not bad. La Liga.
I'll tell you, that's better than I thought it would be.
To be honest with you, and the thing is as well, we have been spoilt with Messi and Ronaldo stats.
Yeah.
If you take those two out of it, that's fucking brilliant, really.
Yeah, it's really good. Serie A, 88 appearances, 32 goals, 24 assists.
Still not bad.
It's still
for a midfield player. Again, you've got to think he's a midfield player. He's not a centre forward.
It's still a very good return. It's still a very good return. It's just.
But I think. Yeah, go on.
It's just the form. It felt like it maybe started to lose it, because I think ultimately that was the biggest factor in maybe the decline of Ronaldinho, was that he maybe just lost that bit of hunger. He'd already won a World Cup in 2002, won the Champions League in 2006. Yeah. At that point, you some players just kind of go, well, I've won it all, but I still, I just want to boost my bank a little bit at this point. And yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if he would have been. Can you imagine Ronaldinho in today's age with, like, say, a Liverpool side or a City? Like, he would have been. I'm trying to think, like, back in like the mid 2000s, he was probably on the right of the midfield four.
Yeah.
He's not on the wing. Like, he's not an old like left winger, which he probably would be now. He probably could have been, like, say, salaries for Liverpool, or like he would have probably got those kind of returns if he played in the modern era.
Possibly.
Obviously, being restricted like by formation and the like.
Yeah. Well, to be honest with you, I'd have just, to be fair, I'd kind of just play him behind the striker and let him go where he wants. You
could do that too.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's just a fucking phenomenal genius of a footballer, as you said, and one of those first players that growing up that that really just sort of made you love football. The kind of thing that you do something and you'd go, I wouldn't even dream of doing that. How have you actually thought about it in real life and then pulled it off?
Well, as I say, that goal against Chelsea is one that always sticks in my head. It's the most ridiculous goal. And if you're too young to remember it, which some people will be now, it's the most unbelievable finish. Like, if you go back and watch it, because he scored twice in the game as well, and he was brilliant.
He was brilliant. I feel like I'm going to say this a lot tonight, but if you're not too familiar with Ronaldinho, do yourself a favor and go on YouTube and watch some highlight videos of Ronaldo. Because if you think Neymar is, all the flicks and the tricks, Ronaldinho makes Neymar look like he's never done a skill in his life. Honestly,
like an ultimate entertainer football. Like almost to a fault. It's like he looks like he's having so much fun and not as serious.
He basically did.
And that's what you mean about the hunger. I think he loved football and just playing football. And actually, everything else was like secondary.
Yeah, I don't think he actually cared
about awards and titles. Like, let's just have fun. And it's like very Brazilian. Like, let's just have fun and flair and make a game fun to watch. And you knew when Ronaldinho played, the game was going to be fun. Like, he was going to do something magical. Every game he did at least one brilliant piece of skill. Great player.
Yeah, absolutely. Brilliant. Actually, just before we move on to our number 9s, I want to say if anyone mentions someone that's on anyone else's list, if they're in your top 3, what I'd say we do is, we go, oh, they're in my top 3, and then we maybe talk about them later on when we get to that top 3. So then that way it saves us, like burning out all of that. Maybe our best ones a bit early on, depending on who we've got.
Yeah.
So cool. So your number 9 then, Matt. Who's your number 9?
So this is one I don't think either of you have, and it's a guess. And it's mainly because I wanted to put a goalkeeper in there.
But I can tell you, it's not on my list.
Yeah, I can tell you. It's not. I'm sorry. I've really ignored the goalkeepers again.
And I think.
It's not David James, is it?
It's not David James.
I think George would jump through the screen and didn't shoot it was David James.
No, it's Gianluigi Buffon. And I think he just deserved a spot.
I can allow that.
I can vibe with that.
Yeah, I can allow that.
I mean, you can or can't allow anything.
I can allow Buffon.
George is the keeper of all football knowledge.
For me, more than anything that makes him...
He'll allow it.
Yeah, I'll allow Buffon.
Yeah. George is the master of opinions. For me, I think what I respect more than anything is just the fucking length of his career.
Oh, it's incredible.
He's 42.
Yeah.
And he's still playing football.
At a high level.
For Juventus.
Exactly.
It's nuts. I think we're just going to keep saying he's won almost everything you can win in his time around. Not a Champions League.
I didn't think
not a Champions League, but I think he's won a Europa League. Yeah, I think so. But
because
Champions League is the only thing Buffon hasn't won, which it's a little bit criminal. I almost felt like, how good a guy. I feel like it's a little bit wrong that he's not got one.
He was the runner-up in 02-03.
Well, even last season,
14-15 and 16-17. Yeah,
and even last season he was PSG.
No, he'd gone back to Juventus by that point.
No, he'd already.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he went back to Juventus.
Oh, yeah, you're right. No, yeah, you're right. Yeah.
But I think, wasn't it Buffon? I think he's the only player left from the original FIFA game, because he was a second choice keeper at Parma at the time. It was like an 18-year-old, and obviously he's now still playing well into his 40s.
That's incredible.
And
that is incredible.
Again, so you talk about the longevity of it, like and the incredible thing. I mean, we talked about Joe Hart and how, as a goalkeeper, to have that mental toughness of things can very quickly unravel and go wrong. There's been no dip in form. There's been no time where he's been questioned. He's just consistently brilliant.
Yeah.
And I remember I saw a cup game last season where he played. He still looks fit as a fiddle. I mean, like he made some incredible saves. Like he was still in his 20s, and it doesn't look like his ability has declined at all.
No, honestly, for me, it's like longevity more than anything.
Yeah.
It's longevity and it's class, though.
You're right. You can have a long career, but if you end up playing for worse sides down or at the start, it's different. No, I agree. So and I wanted a goalkeeper in there because I did my list and it was
I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I feel like I'm so hard on goalkeepers, but I know where you're coming from with that one. But... Yeah, I know where you're coming from with that one. So fair enough. Your number 9 then, Simon. Who are you going with, mate?
So just had discussion. It was Xavi.
Of course, yeah. So my number 9 then. I don't think either of you guys will have him, and he's a personal favourite of mine. So. And I would kind of recommend that anyone who's maybe trying to get into the history of football somewhat do the same thing. So about 10 years or so ago, I watched dozens of documentaries by, I think they were originally by Sky. And they're just a half-hour documentary on a whole heap of legendary players. And I think I just bought the box set. Yeah, I just bought the box set. And... like one of the first guys I watched in this documentary was a guy called Garrincha. So he's a Brazilian winger. And the best way to probably describe him is imagine the Brazilian George Best, but possibly even better, and possibly even more insane in terms of like his off-field antics. So before I even talk about the football, because I was reading up on him today, just because, to get a bit of a refresher, because I've really... like from the clips I've watched YouTube clips of him and everything since, because again, our players before our time, that's really kind of what we're limited to, old footage and YouTube clips. And honestly, not before I even talk about how magical he was with a football in 1959. So he won the World Cup in 1958 in the team of the tournament, but in 1959 he got so pissed and he drunk drove and he ran over his dad and didn't realize he'd ran his dad over. I'm not joking. He had a whole town of people trying to get him to stop driving. Like he must have ran his dad over and left him behind. And a whole town of people were trying to like stop him from like, stop what you're doing. Drive. And, this guy would go to training, finish training, and then head to like the nearest beach bar. And that was his day. But you talk about...
That sounds pretty wicked. That sounds honestly, like a good life.
This guy, man, is unbelievable. And that's just one of the stories that scratched the surface with this guy. So, by all rights, he shouldn't have... I mean, he would never make it in today's football, let's be real, because you can't do stuff like that. But
he'd be unfit,
let me run through his almost... He shouldn't even have been able to walk, this guy, let alone play football, because he was born with... He had a crooked spine and he had warped knees. So basically, like his spine was crooked and his knees were like bent. Like this is all from birth. This isn't from an act. Yeah. Like doctors basically said this guy shouldn't even be able to walk, let alone play football. And his left leg was a couple inches shorter than his right as well. On top of that, so he's got a leg shorter than the other. His knees are like the wrong way in his body, and he's got a crooked spine. The guy played football like George Best. It's honestly left winger. That's the best way I can really kind of describe it without showing you footage of some of the magic this guy did. 58 World Cup. He played with Pele. Obviously, Pele was incredible. He was in the team of the tournament in that 58 World Cup. In the 1962 World Cup, Pele gets injured in the second game because so many teams are targeting Pele. Pele gets taken out for the rest of the tournament. This guy steps up and wins the Golden Ball and the Golden Boot in 62. By the time you get to 66, again, the lifestyle and the everything had kind of caught up to him. I think he died in the 80s in the end. It was maybe 85, I want to say. And but no, the guy was just an enigma. And it's one of those footballers that, again, you probably won't ever see ever again. But even when, we've talked about Gascoigne, we've talked about Best before and the troubles that they've had to win, like 2 World Cups, and he played for who was it, Botafogo for like 13 years, and then at the end of his career, he missed the 70 World Cup because again he was just so out of shape. But I think it was 73. They gave him like FIFA arranged a farewell game for him with like the Brazilian national side, and the guy, as I said, it's a personal favorite of mine, Garrincha. Just unbelievable ability. And when you think of everything, when you think of this lifestyle, when you think of the disabilities effectively, and to still win 2 World Cups in a time where they kicked lumps out of you. As I said, they kicked Pele out that 62 World Cup. Yeah, they kicked Pele out that 62 World Cup. A guy with bent knees and a leg shorter than the other one, as you know, absolutely destroyed the world. I would recommend just giving him a quick look, like the stories of this off. I've not even scratched the surface with his off-field stuff, honestly, guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's a name I knew. It's a name I'd heard of.
Yeah,
it's a name I probably didn't know that much about.
I never heard of it.
Yeah,
it doesn't surprise me. It doesn't get, again, it was so long ago. It doesn't get, you know, he gets kind of left behind because of Pele and because of the 1970s side.
Yeah. No, I think that 62 Brazil side is the often forgotten one because Pele's not in it. Yeah. It's kind of like, well, Pele wasn't there, so they won it, but we don't really care.
Yeah, because that was his second World Cup, Pele, but he just couldn't play after the second game.
But he's injured in the tournament. Didn't play the final. So people kind of went, oh, fine, Brazil. Yeah. No Pele, so I'm not that bothered by it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Who did he play for as a club? Like
Botafogo. Botafogo. He played there for about 13 years.
Yeah, of course.
That was back when the Brazilian league was actually quite revered.
Of course.
Like, it's not like it is now, whereby players go to die.
Yeah. Okay.
But great shout.
It's a great shout, George.
Honestly, man, I think from a personality standpoint, I think you'd really like reading that.
What, because I'm an alcoholic?
It's just I'm gonna
run over my dad.
I think I'm gonna have to send you some of these. I'm gonna have to look for some more Grinch stories because they're outrageous. But that's my number 9. He's such I think we probably could, because honestly, the guy is such an enigma, and it's one of the, as I said, I first watched that documentary over 10 years ago, and they did other play like Dalglish and these great players, and obviously again it was great learning about those guys, but and even Pele, Maradona, and all that were on there as well. But the one that really stuck with me that I probably didn't know going into that series of documentaries was, that stuck with me the most anyway, was Garrincha. Unbelievable stuff. So that was my number 9. Scooting into number 8 then. Who is your number 8 then, Matt?
So my number 8, he's still playing today, and he got in a fight yesterday, so that should give it away. It's Zlatan Ibrahimovic.
Wow,
okay, big shout.
I mean,
I tell you what, if it's on his ego alone, he's number 1 greatest of all time.
If we're asking him, he deserves to be much higher on this. For me, I just tried to pick players who've got a bit of longevity to their careers. He's been around forever. His goals, say what you want about. I think he definitely has flaws to his game, but he's still scoring goals now. 27 appearances in Italy for Milan and already 22 goals. That's a very, very impressive goal.
To be honest with you, Matt, like you said he had flaws to his game. I really kind of struggle to think of any right now, if I'm being honest, mate.
I think the only flaws I would say is just, I think sometimes he let the personality get in the way of.
Yeah, well,
I feel like personally he's more worried about Zlatan the person.
Yeah, okay, I agree. Yeah, you are right.
Less than like a technical flaw.
Yeah. No, you are right, because there was a reason he was only at Barcelona for 1 season.
That's because he wasn't the star man. He couldn't.
Yeah, exactly.
He was only at United for a season as well, wasn't it?
But he was in the twilight of his career by the time he went to United. But Barcelona, he should have been in his peak at that point, and he should have been there 4 years, knocking 40 odd goals a season for them. That's what he should have done anyway.
To Buffon, not won a Champions League, has he?
Yeah. Because he had this weird run. Yeah. It was weird. He had this weird run
before, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, he had this weird run.
They won as soon as they left.
Yeah. So he went to Barcelona. Yeah. I think he what was it? Because obviously Inter won the Inter won the 2010 2010 Champions League, didn't they? And he went to Barcelona in 2009, and then he left Barcelona at the end of 2010, and then they won it in 2011. Yeah, it was kind of.
But does that kind of give an inkling into Zlatan, in the sense that both teams got better once he wasn't there? That's me being potentially very harsh on Zlatan.
Yeah, I mean, because
is there an argument whereby
you would say that 2011 team, they probably would have still won it with Zlatan there anyway.
I
I don't think him leaving. I mean, I would say that to a certain extent. Maybe not, because he was a bit of a disruptive nature in that dressing room.
Yeah.
Had they maybe not. I get what, building the team around Messi. Of course, building the team around Messi was the right thing to do. But had they maybe still played Messi, had they played Zlatan down the center instead of and then had Messi on the left instead of Pedro and David Villa on the right, or whatever way Pedro and Villa were. Yeah. But obviously, as you said, Zlatan wanted to be the star when Guardiola, when Messi was the star.
Which is why PSG was a good move for him at that time.
Yeah,
because he was undoubtedly the star of PSG.
He was, by a million miles, he was the star name.
Easily the best player in the team and the best player in the league. So that is why that move made a lot of sense with Zlatan.
I think this might be a bit more of a controversial statement, but I think a lot of Zlatan, the person, got in the way of probably Zlatan baking into a team. I think because he wanted to be that star player so much, I feel like a lot of managers found it really hard to manage him and to mold. Yeah. You know what I mean? Build those relationships that you need to build a really successful team.
Obviously, in the previous podcast on players that we'd like to meet, we spoke about how much Zlatan's ego pretty much lifted him through his career, because it did. I feel like he was so much better because of his career. But on the flip side, when you do get into altercations with Pep Guardiola because of your ego, it pushes you so far. But then there's also a bit of a ceiling there as well that maybe could have existed if he just tempered it a bit.
I mean, I think it goes into the title of this pod. It's like the nearly GOATs. If he'd had the ability to push through that ego, he probably could have been right in that discussion.
We'd be talking about him in the same breath as Messi and Ronaldo.
I think we could have been. He certainly got the same ability.
The thing, like the goals, man, the quality of the goals that he's got. The overhead kick against England. To even attempt that is out, and I know, and people, we all know that the MLS is a shit standard of football. Yeah. We all know that, but there's the same.
But that
thing
goal on debut.
Yeah, but that goal that he scored for them was unbelievable, and
it was like the Los Angeles derby as well. So it's like a big game. Zlatan off the bench scores twice.
It's the kind of goal that makes the league that they're playing in irrelevant, because it doesn't matter what.
No keeper in the world is saying that.
Exactly.
Honestly,
it's just great strike.
He's a madman, and I think it deserves massive plaudits to say he's 39 and he's still an attacking.
Well, I mean, AC Milan are right at the top of Serie A, so it's not like he's scoring goals from mid-table side.
Is he
still competing?
Is he the top scorer in Serie A?
I think Lukaku might be in front.
It's between either him or Lukaku, I think. Yeah, it's between him or Lukaku.
Well, they had a disagreement.
But as you said, mate, he's still scoring goals, and what is he now, like 35, 36, if not older?
38,
he's 39.
39.
Fucking hell. Jesus.
To be an attacking player.
It's like 35 when he went to the MLS, I think.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was thinking maybe he went to the MLS at 31, 32, but no, you're right. And because when he went to Man United, he was like 35. 30. And to be fair to him, that if that Man United team was maybe slightly better, because he was still putting goals in for them. He basically won them that League Cup final that year. Yeah. They would have lost that final.
Community Shield, he scored the winner in that game as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the definition of big game player, isn't he? I mean, he loves the big stage. He loves it so much. He's fantastic.
Such an entertainer.
Yeah.
I think, as much as I think he does have a massive head. Massive.
Oh, he does, but...
I think he does understand that football is all about entertainment and
it's similar to Ronaldo. He's got that showmanship.
And as I said, I think his ego ultimately helped him more than it hindered him. It probably just hindered him when he was right at the cusp, but he probably just needed to tell it in a little bit.
Just to rein himself in and be a bit like, humble, a little bit, I'll play for the team. Where do you want me, Gaffer? Yeah.
But, he only played for himself, and it served him well. You can't deny that. So
I think most of the time a good Zlatan is good for the team. There's very rare.
You just build the team around him, don't you? As you said, unless you've got Messi,
him scoring 25 goals a year, it's going to be good.
You let him. You massage his ego. That's how you get the best out of him. You massage his ego. That you build the team around him. The whole team should be focused on giving him the ball and presenting opportunities for him, and then you get the best out of Zlatan Ibrahimovic. So, no, I think that's a solid number 8. To be honest with you, Matt, great stuff. So, moving into
you say that.
No, mate, no. As I said, before we even started, there's probably solid, like 50 something odd players that I could not pick and still go, yeah, that's a great shout.
Yeah.
So
it's
yeah,
not even if your list either, so that's a good start.
So you're number 8 then, Simon.
My number 8, I mean, this shirt sort of reminds you of the shirts he'd be wearing. This is an Ipswich shirt, but the style is similar. Name is synonymous with the club. His son's playing there now. His dad played there as well. Paolo Maldini.
He's my number 7, Paolo Maldini.
I mean, because I was a bit like you, I was kind of thinking defenders, right? And I need to give one in.
Unbelievable.
And he's just the ultimate rock of a defender.
Because he made his debut for Milan in 1985 and he retired in 2009. 2009,
That's
24 years he had at AC Milan. And
I reckon not once did he get dribbled past in all the time.
This is the thing, right? They've won 7 Champions League in their history, AC Milan. Only Real Madrid won more. He won 5 of them.
But I mean, I love Maldini was famous for that quote, wasn't he? Of like, when I have to slide tackle, I've already made a mistake.
Yeah.
It was like a whole new way of thinking about defending, which I hadn't really heard before that time. Because in Britain, it's like, crunching tackle. That's what you've got to do as a defender. He's like, no, like the first 5 yards is in his head, and you got that sense from him. He was never caught out of position.
I would say. And again, this might be a little bit controversial, but in terms of his ability to read the game, I would say probably the best ever from a defensive standpoint. Read
Certainly
the game
right
anyway.
there.
Yeah,
I mean, I think the only one who maybe came close was Fabio Cannavaro.
Yeah.
Because they're quite similar in the fact that he's not massively tall for a centre back.
No,
so he's not relying on big physicality and getting tight. He's always thinking he has to read the game.
Well, but even
he's not got the attributes to
even then with Maldini, like. Because he started, didn't he? He started at left back, didn't he? And then he transitioned, to be able to play at full back and then move into centre back as your career get older. You don't really see that with too many full backs, to be honest, at all. And just the longevity, we think of the only one in terms of longevity playing at that kind of level I can really think of is Ryan Giggs, and but Maldini just. The ultimate defender, really, as you said, so far ahead. And, if I have to make him a tackle, I've already made a mistake. And that kind of level of thinking, 5 Champions League titles. He was a penalty shootout away from a 6th in 2005. At that point, he'd been playing for the club for 20 years. He'd been playing when they won the Champions League in 2007. He'd been at the club 22 years. Imagine being at a club 22 years and then starting in a Champions League final.
Still playing at the highest level. And it's so nice to see his son there now as well. And starting to break through. It's like
those genes are fantastic. Jesus.
Granddad plays for AC Milan. Son plays for AC Milan, and then grandson as well.
I hope his son never leaves until he retires. I hope his son never leaves.
It's a bit of a different game.
And the thing is, you see clubs retiring numbers really quickly, but he is one where it's
he deserves it.
He's the epitome of the number 3 shirt at AC Milan. I think if he wore it for 22 years, that's probably like a 7th of AC Milan's history.
647 appearances.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
No,
it's a phenomenal amount.
29 goals.
He's not prolific.
No, he's not prolific.
It's all right. Did he score in that Champions League final in 07?
It was either 07 or 05.
No, 05. 05 he scored, didn't he?
Yeah.
Because they went 3-0 up, and I think Nesta got one, and Maldini got one, and Shevchenko.
Yeah.
But and you think that would have been a great send-off, wouldn't it? If he scored a winning goal in Champions League as well. But that was a great game.
Yeah, the only thing that I do feel a little bit sad for him was that he wasn't in the team when Italy won the tournament in 06.
There's no reason he couldn't have made it.
Well, no, because and the thing is as well, we could have been in there for Simone Barone. It's
but, just like a ceremonial post.
Yeah. But no, it was a shame because it came second in 94. They lost on penalties when Baggio blasted it over the crossbar.
Yeah.
And I think they came third at some point as well in his time there. So, and he also came, I think, second in the Euros as well. Never won an international top tournament, which again, it's pretty gutted when you think 5 Champions Leagues and second and third a couple of times. Yeah.
And when you think back to our worst World Cup winners, and you're like, Maldini's not got one.
Yeah, but Simone Barone did win one in that squad that he should have been in. Oh, yeah. No, it's harsh. It's very harsh. But no, I think, as you said, that was your number 8. That was my number 7. I think that's a great pick. So Stroll, while we're on the subject of this defenders, going into my number 8, I've gone with Bobby Moore, West Ham's greatest ever player by a mile. And we were talking earlier about how almost ahead of his time Paolo Maldini was. I think, because Matt, you made it, you said that obviously it was a long time ago, and obviously it has. Football has moved on to a certain degree now. But Paolo Maldini was one of those players that I genuinely think you could, providing the fitness and stuff is up to date, you could slot him in a defense now, and I think he'd still be just as excellent as he was back then. And I would kind of say a similar thing for Bobby Moore. We talked about Rio in our greatest Premier League players of all time, their first ever episode. Yeah. And part of what made Rio stand out was, again, he had that ability of, if I've already made a mistake, if I've got to make a tackle, I've already made a mistake. And he was one of the first defenders to really be a ball player. And Bobby Moore was pretty much the same vein, but 40 years earlier. Just his range of passing from a centre-back is phenomenal. The one that obviously what sticks in your head is the most is the World Cup final, because Jeff Hurst got a hat-trick in that game. Bobby Moore in today's game, they didn't record assists then. They didn't do them for whatever reason. But Bobby Moore would have had 2 assists from that game if they did assists back then. He put 2 balls on a plate in that game. And
I mean, the other iconic image of Bobby Moore is that tackle on Pele.
Yeah, that tackle
in the 70 World Cup. I mean, Pele's just dancing through and just goes, slides the ball, brings it under control and just plays it out. Brilliant. Like so nonchalantly.
Yeah, and obviously, Pele said that he's the best defender he ever played against, which, coming from arguably the greatest of all time, that's an incredible compliment, really. I'm trying to think of what a potential modern day it would be like in today's game. Messi. Yeah, it would be like Messi saying that, Sergio Ramos was the best centre back I ever played against, or something like that. Really, and it's just, he just Bobby Moore is so ahead of his time. Such class on and off the pitch. A complete gentleman, and as a West Ham fan.
Yeah, and I'll tell you now, that's probably partly the reason why I didn't pick him. I was like, you guys as West Ham would probably have him on there.
I thought about him. I didn't put him in simply just because, like I said, I decided that I was going to keep mine everything post kind of the year 2000, but he was just a little bit before that.
A little bit.
Only a little bit. Only about 30 years or so.
Yeah. I didn't really have much to add. The only thing I would add as well is that for like the community and for West Ham, obviously massive player, and he's still got a name.
His legacy still lives on now.
Yeah, his legacy still lives on.
Yeah, I mean we're nearby Upton Park, me and Matt living in a flat, and you can still see the Bobby Moore statue.
The Bobby Moore statue's still there, but also in like the newer parts of there's the Bobby Moore Academy in Stratford. Yeah. An amazing player. There's a statue of him on the A13 when you come into London.
Brilliant.
Just
great. That's a great player. Great.
Yeah, and it's just like so far ahead of his time. That's the thing as well. It's something that in today you would almost argue that being able to play out from the back is probably valued more so than just being able to defend well.
Yeah, it's a prerequisite for a defender.
Yeah,
probably good on the ball.
Yeah, exactly.
Particularly for the top teams. I mean, lower down.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, maybe not so much lower down in the Premier League. Like not knocking them for this. Like your Burnleys and your Stokes and that traditionally, he gets the job done. But
I mean, you think of even Burnley playing like Tarkowski, is that?
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Players.
No, that's
what
true.
I was going to say though is, I mean, you look in that final. I mean, you had Bobby Moore and Franz Beckenbauer, who's very similar.
Yeah,
in that regard.
Exactly.
Like,
I did. Yeah, I really did think about Beckenbauer. And again, I feel like we do have a bit of a midfield / attacker bias, which is ultimately why Beckenbauer missed out for me. But yeah, and also because of one other player I've got on here as well. But it just a phenomenal player, so ahead of his time.
Yeah, 544 appearances for West Ham.
I thought it was more than that, to be honest with you. But what can I say?
I mean, records are probably dodgy from back then.
They're a little bit, not just that though. They're a little bit.
Well, if you count Pele's goals in friendlies, then we're up to 4,000.
Yeah. No, that's fair enough. But Bobby Moore for me, West Ham legend. Our star player and from a club perspective, our star player and our best period of of history, and also as a West Ham fan, it feels like we have a little bit of unique history that I know we all go, oh, West Ham won the World Cup. It's a lovely stuff that we like to say, but it's a nice bit of unique history to have, that you had the winning captain of your only country's World Cup, their only win. Basically.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing at Ipswich. I mean, the World Cup
Ramsey,
same thing. I'm very proud of that.
Yeah,
we cling to that.
So, did he win any domestic trophies? Like, I'm being devil's
Bobby Moore. So Bobby Moore, he won the 64 FA Cup and he won the 65 Cup Winners' Cup. Here's the funny thing. So he left around 73, 74, something like that. He also won the Community Shield for us, but I'm not really counting that. And then we won the 75. He left to go play for Fulham. We played Fulham in the 75 FA Cup final. He was playing for Fulham. And obviously we won that final. Fulham have never won a trophy in their history. And it's a little bit strange that Bobby Moore was such an integral part of our club, for like well over a decade. And then, goes to see out his last few years at a different club and could have won the FA Cup against us.
When we're talking about GOATs, I mean, we're talking about him purely as an international player, really. I mean, in terms of club career.
Well, here's the thing.
One domestic trophy.
No, his club career, obviously, in terms of domestic trophies, he's probably the least. Yeah, I would say he's probably, out of everyone on my list, he's won the least amount of. But he won the Ballon d'Or, Bobby Moore. Despite playing for West Ham, he won the Ballon d'Or, and that's phenomenal. It was a case of a world-class player, and even Jeff Hurst was an excellent striker. Martin Peters left shortly after we won the World Cup, but we still had. There was a famous saying, I think it was Harry Redknapp saying, we had Bobby Moore and Jeff Hurst and Martin Peters, but we still finished 17th one year. That should tell you how shit the rest of us were in comparison to them. It is. As I said, domestically, he probably has the weakest. He probably has the weakest CV on my list. But
it would be interesting though. Like today's game, there's no way he'd been at West Ham that long.
No.
He would have been poached at like.
It just wouldn't, he's a local lad, but players just don't stay. He wouldn't know. A Man United or a City or someone would have snapped him up. Yeah.
Well, interestingly, I'm just reading through, and after he's finished playing for Fulham, he went and played in the National American Soccer League.
Yeah, I did.
San Antonio.
Quite a lot of people did back then.
Pele did the same thing. Yeah.
But I didn't know Bobby Moore had. Like I knew it was a thing, but I didn't know Bobby Moore did it.
Well, I think it was just that case, he knew he was past his best, but he probably just enjoyed playing football so much that he didn't want to give it up.
And they were throwing a lot lot of money at it as well.
They would have been. Yeah, they would have been. Like it's kind of crazy because in the 70s, Bobby Moore owned a shop down like opposite Upton Park, basically.
So
I don't know what shop it was, but it was just like a shop. So because players needed other streams of income at that point, really, didn't they?
Yeah. I remember Brian Clough talking about how he nearly signed him for Derby once as well. Just they had the bid accepted. He went around his house and whatever reason the deal fell through, but that would have been great to see Brian Clough and Bobby Moore in a team together.
That would have been madness, wouldn't it? Really, Jesus. But yeah, no, Bobby Moore for me. I think the best centre back of all time. At least that's my opinion anyway. So yeah, my number 8. Moving into our number 7s now, Matt. Who's your number 7?
So my number 7 is another defender.
Right, we do give defenders love on this podcast.
They're very low. That's all I will say. And it's Sergio Ramos. Again, contemporary.
No, you know what? I'm going to level with you. I'm going to say that I think that's a brilliant shout.
Yeah,
no, I really am.
One of the few people in the world with a better beard than George.
Only there's not many of them though.
Yeah. I've got a very beautiful beard.
No, honestly, man, like Sergio Ramos, and I feel like he gets so much stick because he is a shithouse player, but the man is
contrarian of football.
Honestly, like I fucking love Sergio Ramos. If I was going to,
I quite enjoy the shithousing though.
No, same here.
Oh yeah,
same here. But I feel like there is genuinely though. I've seen like tons of people on Twitter like take it personally. I'm like, dude, you know what? He wins stuff, and he's got that nasty side to him, but that makes him so much better. But he can also play. For me, I honestly think, and I don't know whether you guys will agree with me, I honestly think Sergio Ramos is the best centre back that I have seen in my lifetime. again, I don't know whether you go because that's a big statement. I'm not going to lie.
It's a big statement. I mean,
but I would put him ahead of PK and Terry and Ferdinand and Vidic.
I was a huge fan of Cannavaro. I really, really did like Fabio Cannavaro.
Great, brilliant. He won the Ballon d'Or, didn't he?
He did. Yeah, last defender, I think, to win.
Yeah, he was. I just think Sergio.
Ramos is a great.
Yeah, for me, again, there's not much in it. There's not much in it, but I just think slightly does it more for me. If I was going
I think you have to we saw the back end of Maldini. If we'd seen the Maldini,
I
think he would have been right in there as well.
Yeah,
whereas we talk about dark hearts because that Italian team was renowned for it, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Like just little nudges, nurdles off the ball. Like it's great. It's great.
The thing is as well, I will say this for Ramos as well. Probably the most prolific centre back I can think of.
Yeah, and he got 50 international goals.
Something daft like that. He scored the equaliser in the 2014 Champions League final.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. Is he's not only a fantastic defender who can play football, but over the years, especially I feel like during the later stage of his career, he's found a way to impact games more as a centre back. And some like some of the headers he's been scoring, like he was scoring.
Well, and penalty taker now, isn't he? Or has been for some time.
That's not.
The thing that says it for me more than anything is that we know what Real Madrid are about, right? They're about the best players in the world. He's been there since he moved from Sevilla since 2005.
Yeah,
and they pretty much haven't had to even look at replacing him since 2005.
Because they signed him as a right back, like initially. That's where they signed him from Sevilla, and it was a modest total. I'd say like 10 million.
It was about 7 million or something.
Yeah.
Which is in the era of the Galacticos. This is
by that, like 4 years, years earlier, they're dropping like 60 million on Zidane. Yeah.
So this is like a drop in the ocean kind of thing, and I don't think they expected him to have the kind of career he's had.
No,
and the way he's reinvented himself, he's a right back. Maybe didn't have the attacking ability as a right back, like in terms of crossing, getting up and down. Moves into centre back, and as you say, he's the immovable object now. I know they're having some contract disputes at the minute, but
they had a few contract disputes a couple of years ago where he basically threatened to go to Man United just so that then they'd make him sign a new deal. And I remember all the United fans were getting really excited about signing him when he basically just catfished them effectively.
But yeah, I know. So they're trying to give him a new deal at the minute, and he's kind of stalling on that. But one of Madrid's best ever players.
Well, again, you look at his CV.
Four Champions Leagues,
2 Euros, 1 World Cup, 4 Champions League. What 3 or 4 La Ligas? I want to say maybe 5 at a push. Because obviously between 2010 to 2020, Barcelona won the majority of them, didn't they? But phenomenal.
Oh yeah, fantastic player. And I think the only other thing I would add into there is when Company left City, there was a very sizable hole left in that team. And I can see, I might be, forecasting doom here, I don't know. But I can see a massive pair of boots to fill. As he gets on. He's 34. I think he's still got a few more years left in him as a centre back. But once they start to look at replacing him, I don't know another player.
Even not necessarily as a starting all the games now because he is getting on. But yeah, I agree that those are some huge boots to fill. And
also it's club captain as well. It's the leadership.
Yeah, the character of the man. We've not even talked about one of the biggest winners in football for me. One of the biggest winners in football.
Well, he just wants to win.
He'd kick his own grandma if it meant they were going to win.
Yeah, no, he would.
That's the kind of player that he was.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of course, I don't know what I said was, like he's retired, but no, it still is. Great player.
I think there will always be, when it's against your team, it will always
well, it's like that foul on Salah, isn't it? That's the moment you're really talking about where he got a lot of flack from a lot of people.
Yeah,
Salah was the key player in that Liverpool team.
Yeah, that was the thing.
And he got to target him.
And that fucked them up. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So as I said,
it wasn't a red card challenge.
No, it wasn't a red card challenge. It's just one of those things. But he knew what he was doing.
Yeah,
But didn't he score?
He knocked himself off his rhythm.
Did he score in another Champions League final as well?
I think he did. Yeah.
Did he score in 2017 or something like that?
Because they played Atletico twice, and I'm sure he scored in both games.
Yeah, because he scored the equaliser in the first one when they won La Decima.
Yeah, and I think he scored in the other game against Atletico.
Yeah, I think he did as well. I think he scored in at least. So for a centre back to get have possibly 2 goals in at least one. I know he's got at least one in the champion. That's outrageous.
And vitally important as well in terms of they equalise it in the 93rd minute of the game.
That was almost the last header of the game in that first against Atletico the first time. Almost the last header of the game. And, you know, like, because, you know, Bale was incredible in that game as well. And he ultimately, you know, he made it 2-1. I know they went on to win 4-1, but Bale's was the decider effectively. Yeah. And without Sergio Ramos, they lose that game. They lose that game.
They lose a lot of games. And I mean, if you
they have at least 2 less Champions Leagues without Sergio Ramos, if not 3 or 4. They might not have won. And as great as Ronaldo was, as great as Bale was when he was playing for them at certain points, and Modric and Xabi Alonso, again, the list of players, like Sergio Ramos was one of, if not the most important player in those tournaments for them.
I would argue if Real Madrid have better attacking players, they would have had a much more successful Champions League campaign than they did last season.
They missed Ronaldo. They haven't been able to replace Ronaldo.
It's not that they've started leaking goals like crazy.
Of course you can't, because they've then got to make up. You're right. They've then got to make up an extra 50 goals a season.
But they've got to make up an extra 50 goals.
If you took 3 players to replace one Ronaldo, I think you've done quite well. That's how good he is.
No, honestly.
But anyway, we talk about Ramos here.
Just as I said, you know, he does get a lot of stick, but I feel like I don't want to say you're a bit of a pussy if you dislike Ramos, but I think you, unless he's done something specific, like Liverpool fans I can get, because he's done something specifically to your.
He's set on Salah,
but in a final,
I'd have argued they're going to lose that game anyway.
Well, you don't know.
They have a much better chance with Salah, don't they?
Exactly, and they had a much better chance with Salah.
Yeah, I mean, Karius still backs up twice.
Move on, maybe.
But Ramos, brilliant pick. So that was your number 7, wasn't it, Matt? Yeah. That's half time. Thank you so much for listening to part 1 of this Mid-Table and Up podcast episode. Part 2 will be available to listen to very soon. If you enjoy our content, please follow us on Instagram, Twitter and Facebook. Be sure to download us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Acast and SoundCloud. Thank you very much, and we'll see you in parts 2.